Welcome to episode 27 of the Confident Carnivore podcast, where our motto is change your fuel, change your life. Today's guest is the lovely Lillie Kane. Hi, Lillie.
Hi.
Welcome to Confident Carnivore.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Well, we are very excited to have you here. You are a beautiful and young and radiant example of the carnivore lifestyle. So before we dive into our conversation, I'm just going to do a quick share screen so people can see. Let's go ahead and show your before and after. If you want to just say a few words about these photos.
Yeah, I had dyed hair and I thought I really had to glam it up to be beautiful, but that really wasn't the case.
So how old are you in the left photo?
I'm 21, drinking lots of beer.
Wow. And then in the right, is this just recent then?
Yeah, that's probably 6 months ago.
Wow. And so you're wearing the same dress, right?
I don't know if everybody else is like me, but I have clothes that are like 10 years old in my closet still.
Wow. Well, you look fantastic. So we're going to find out how you got to looking that good. But first, let's go ahead and share your social media so I don't have to go back and forth. All right. So yeah, we found you because some of our carnivore friends said, "Hey, have you seen this young this young carnivore, Lillie Kane?" And so we were kind of like internets or YouTube stalking you. So do you want to tell us a bit about your channel here?
Sure. Initially, my channel, I was actually inspired to start my channel because of a book called The Millionaire Messenger by Brennan Burchard. Nothing to do with carnivore, but it was, after reading, like I have always really wanted to share my story, and my story is not about carnivore, but now it is. But after reading his book, I finally had the fuel of, I'm sharing my story. It's going, I need to just maybe get it off my chest for peace of mind for me, but then also I just felt like it would really help somebody. And so initially the channel was about DIYs and crafts and just anything to bring a smile to people's face, and then just send my crafts out to people around the world. And I was doing that initially, and slowly but surely it turned into trends in 2021, and then gifts for Valentine's Day, and then what I eat in a week. And once I posted what I eat in a week, it was like, hold up, you eat beef and eggs and you just continue to do that. And so after that, I really got involved in the carnivore community and the keto community, and started seeing how many people's lives I was changing with just my content. I thought people wanted my crafts, but it turns out people want more. They want to know more about health and how to live their longest, healthiest, best quality life, especially with everything that's been going on in the past year. I think that people are anything, even if I'm completely wrong with what I'm saying, it's just something to see in a different perspective, to know, well, she's smiling and she seems happy, so maybe I'll try that. And then just having the messages from people saying they lost 15 pounds or that I helped them reach their weight loss goal. It's just been really, I can't even take it in still. It's still so fresh and new, and it feels so amazing to help so many people.
Wow, that is really kind of incredible that you started out with crafts and you did a hard pivot to carnivore.
Yeah.
So okay, so now your channel is pretty new then, right? So it's 7 months old, right? You said that you started it, and so you started out with crafts. Now, how did you even end up becoming, because you're 24 years old, right? So how long have you been carnivore, and how did you even start being a carnivore?
So the whole transition of health for me has been really long. And then like a specific date with carnivore, to me, it was never like I had to do it for weight loss or I had to do it for mental health. It just slowly started happening. And then one day I was like, oh yeah, this is what I eat now. And then I'm not super strict about it either. So if one day I'm like, I'm gonna have some onions with my meat, that's okay. And I guess that goes back to, for me, I don't have as many mental health issues or digestive issues, so I can get away with doing some of those things. But keto for a year, carnivore in and out throughout the whole time.
Okay. So when you first went keto, why did you even do that? If you
I
didn't have
guess
health issues and it didn't look like you really had any weight to lose or anything, right? So
to back up. When I was growing up, I saw a video of someone putting a tooth inside of a Pepsi. And so when I was like 8 years old, I was scarred for life. I was like, the tooth decayed super quickly and my teeth are gonna fall out, so I don't want to have any soda. But I can have donuts and I can have cake and I can have cookies, that's fine. But soda, that's a no-go. So I pretty much stopped having soda really young. And then when I was in high school, I started learning about fast food restaurants and obesity, and I didn't want to have acne. So it was like, I'm not going to McDonald's. I'm not going to any fast food restaurant. And it was kind of my family, it was convenient for them. So they say, Lillie, just what do you want from McDonald's? I'm like, no, I'm not going. I'm making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at home because that's way better, right?
wow.
And so then I stopped having fast food when I was in high school. And then when I went to college, I was in track and field as a sprinter and hurdler.
Wow.
And I really have never had learned anything about health and nutrition. Nobody taught me what a carb was. Nobody taught me what protein. It was just before your race day, you eat pasta. And then after a hard workout, you eat protein, whether that is protein powder or protein bars.
Ooh.
And then when I finished, I was 100 pounds when I graduated high school. And then my freshman year of college, I was gained that 115, that 15 pounds.
Okay.
But I was actually really happy about it. I was always called chicken legs and like all sorts of, I know that it's usually the opposite. People don't want to be, they'd rather be too skinny, but when people, no matter what, people are always going to pick on you, whatever size you are. And so when I
Right.
gained 15 pounds, I was like, yes, I'm thick. I don't even think I was that thick, but it was muscle. And then when I graduated college and I stopped running and working out, there was no muscle and it was just turning into the weight. And then when I met my boyfriend, Bryce, he was eating, I love donuts. I love pie. I love candy. I love sugar. And when I met him, he would not indulge in that with me. And it felt kind of weird in the beginning that I was dating somebody who didn't love pie and didn't love candy. And my friends would say, Lillie, are you sure this is like the guy for you? Like that's something
Wow.
I know it's pretty extreme, but it's like that's something that was so they knew me as the girl who would take a whole pecan pie and eat the whole pie in one sitting. So it's like for them to see now I'm not having as much sugar, they were like, whoa, who is this girl? So that's kind of when I first started cutting back on sugar, which was a couple of years ago. So that's when I stopped having as much dessert, though we were still having paninis and quesadillas, and he was not having those foods prior to me. He was keto when I met him.
Oh.
But what I was able to, it was when you're first dating somebody, you don't want to be the weirdo. You don't want to say, no, I don't eat that. I don't eat that. I don't eat that. This is why. Let me show you these things that I have going on with my health. So he would let me make chimichangas or tamales or whatever I wanted to make. And eventually his health was getting worse. And so he said, I can't keep doing this. I have to go back to eating keto. And so that's when I stopped having some bread. That's when I stopped having rice. And then I started learning more about why is my banana the size of my forearm instead of like the bananas in other countries. So then I said, okay, I can't get rid of sugar. Sugar is too hard for me to get rid of. I really love eating dessert, and that's the best part of life, right? Is dessert. But I can get rid of fruit. So I stopped having fruit. And then after that, I said, okay, I'm going to do a whole month with no dessert. And I did it. And I said, okay, well, that was very empowering. I feel like that was something that I've had my whole life. And I didn't think it was a problem. I just thought everyone has dessert. But then once you stop having it, you're like, wow, I kind of was controlled by that. Always looking forward to having dessert. Always, that's like the thing you look forward to in life. Let's go to Disneyland so we can get a funnel cake. Let's go.
Yeah.
So many people message me or comment on my videos saying, why do you have so many pictures of you with dessert? It's like, that's what we did. It was like the thing to do. Let's go to a donut shop and take pictures. So, and then after that, I was just having mostly, I don't know what everyone else's keto life looks like, but I was having cauliflower rice, cauliflower tortillas, lots of cauliflower. And then we watched the video with Dr. Berry saying that if you want to have just beef, eggs, liver, sardines, butter, and something else, then you're fine. And we're like, well, great. Now I just don't have to eat cauliflower anymore and it'll be good. So then it was kind of like, well, I'll stop having some vegetables, and then didn't buy them and I liked it.
Wow. Now, so you said you didn't really have health issues like mental, physical, no mood. I mean, did you notice things when you quit first sugar and then quitting the vegetables?
Yeah, so if someone were just doing like a strict or was eating a standard American diet and then went straight to carnivore, I'm assuming they would have a lot of different things going on, and it would hurt a lot more than it hurt me because I was doing it so slow. It took months and months and months for me to become carnivore. And so I did have, well, the flu in terms of just like the runs. So I was having that because I was thinking, oh, I have to have all this fat and rendered fat, and I wasn't digesting it very well. So that was the only negative. But then once I figured out, okay, I don't have to eat twice as much fat as protein. I just had to figure it out like other people have to as well. But my mental health changed, and I didn't even think that I had mental health problems. I was always smiling, I was always happy. But once you remove those processed carbs and sugars, it's like my brain works a lot better. And I used to cry a lot more and just thought, this is what girls do. It's that time of the month, or I just watched a sad chick flick, I cry. But now it's like, I never cry. I never have had these highs and lows of energy where I'm bouncing off the walls and then I'm crashing, so it's just calm, steady, happy, lots of energy, sleep really well now. I used to toss and turn trying to fall asleep, probably because I had loads of sugar right before I went to bed. And yeah, so I didn't realize that I was kind of trapped in my mind with having these other foods. And now I feel a lot better. And now I've actually started having some more vegetables this past month. And I just noticed that I'm a little more tired. My brain's a little more foggy.
Oh,
I'm going to the bathroom a little bit more. And
yeah.
yeah, I don't think vegetables are inherently bad, but for some people that they will cause digestive issues or causes me bloating. I notice that immediately as soon as I go to, as soon as I have some vegetables. But it's just there's so much information out there, and I'm just like everybody else, just trying to figure out what really is the best. And if one day somebody tells me that Chips Ahoy cookies are the best thing that you can ever eat, and you can give me the science and you can prove it, great, I'll eat Chips Ahoy cookies. But until that happens, I'm not eating them.
Yeah, and well, so the picture that we saw when you were 21 then, that's pre-keto then, right? I mean,
Yeah, well, in college too, I wasn't a huge drinker, just because of my background, but I did drink here and there, and I think that was a big part in me gaining weight. And then and then now Bryce and I just don't really ever drink, and so
yeah.
I think a lot of the bloating look and the heaviness look came from a lot of the sugars and the drinking.
But you never felt like at that time, since you loved your sugar so much, you weren't even really thinking, oh, you could physically be better? I mean, because you had come from being super athletic doing track, right? So then were you upset that you had like got puffier?
Well, I think I didn't even realize it at the time. It was one of those things where when I was running, I was burning a lot more. So I was like, I was getting away with it. But then as soon as I stopped running, pretty much within 6 months, I met Bryce. But when I look at pictures from before and after in my face, I can tell that my face definitely was bigger. And I had somebody who I met later see me and say, oh, you lost a lot of weight. And I was kind of offended, thinking, what do you mean I lost weight? I was never big. And then I look back on pictures in my face and I'm like, okay, if I would have kept this up, thank God I met Bryce after 6 months only. If it would have been 5 years, 10 years, things would have definitely been different. But very
Yeah, it would
lucky
have been
that I met
harder
him.
harder
Yeah.
to undo. So
Yep.
now you said so Bryce is keto, but he's not carnivore, right? Or is he?
It just it depends on the day. So he's done everything. He's been a fruitarian, a pescatarian, a vegetarian, a
Wow.
vegan. He did the Lions diet just like
Mhm.
a month or two ago, just because he's trying to just narrow in what might be causing him to have different issues. So, I mean, it just depends on the day. Some days we eat carnivore, and then other days we'll throw in some onions, or we'll have some celery or carrots or something like that.
How did he do on Lion?
He did not like it. He really likes eggs, and just to have
Okay.
beef, he was pretty he felt really bored and felt trapped. And I think for me, because I don't have to be strict carnivore, it's easier for me to be carnivore, I think, versus somebody who might have to be. They think they have to, follow these regulations or do it in this time, or if they look at an Almond Joy, then they're going to want it. Whereas for me, because I don't have to, I can look at all of the candy in the store and be like, I just don't want to have it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It can be quite like, that's nice that you have that freedom. I have mental illness in my family, and I've suffered from it myself. So I have had to be stricter, and I was doing ribeye for like 90 days. And then I stopped, and I was eating still carnivore, but eating other things. And then I wasn't doing as well. And I could feel myself, kind of rebelling, right? Because everyone's like, oh, you were so much better. You were so much calmer. You were like, they were giving me all these statements that I was doing so much better. Just go back to the ribeye. You were doing so great. And it's just like, then you start to dig your heels in, like, because you don't want to feel restricted, right? So I'll be like, well, I want to have some eggs. I want to have some chicken. I'm still carnivore, but a lot of it is mental, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't want to feel like your freedom is gone, your freedom of choice, and it's like, I like your style of being open to, what promotes health, and then, adapting that to different people and not being rigid about it, because I don't ultimately, I don't want to have to eat ribeye only for the rest of my life. I want to have seafood. I want to have chicken. I want to have eggs. And it's like, I don't want to pay a hefty price for it. But at the same time, it's like, I like that you keep playing, you try some onions, you see, and then you were having the scalp thing, right?
Well, and I was going to say that too, that I totally forgot, because now I'm feeling my pains back. But when I was doing strict carnivore, I had knee pain because I was running, and because of hurdling, that I had so much impact on my knees that even as someone who was young, I couldn't believe, like, I couldn't walk up and down the stairs without having pain. There was a time when I had to use crutches, because just getting out of the bed was so painful for walking. So once I ate carnivore, I was like, what? My knee pain and all of my joints went away. And keep in mind, I
Wow.
did not realize that this was because of carnivore. It's not until I listened to other people's stories and they say inflammation goes down or joint pain goes away. And then when I hear Lady Carnivore JC saying that her dandruff went away, then I'm like, wait, my dandruff went away. So I'm super glad that you do this kind of channel and other people have their stories out there too, because it makes you realize, like, what an important role food plays into our lives, and some small things that I don't even realize were an issue are gone.
I think it's kind of funny because you're like this happy, you're not super like, you don't say you're a hardcore carnivore, but then you've actually had so many gains from it, right? I mean, the stricter, because I remember seeing your video where you had like 6 foods that you were eating. Like there was some chicken and some eggs, and so that, I mean, that was just sort of like a trial period then. Like, you'd say, okay, I'm gonna eat these 6 things for now, but then you keep moving from there, right? I mean, you didn't
Yeah.
stay on those 6 foods, obviously, right?
Yeah, well, and during that time too, we were having chicken. We didn't really want to have chicken as much. We wanted to have more liver, and then but we had just moved to St. Louis at that point when I made that video. So yeah, I mean, we weren't finding the best quality produce too. We weren't going to be finding I guess if I have to say I'm against something, I'm against grains. Not that there aren't healthy options for grains, but for me, I don't see the benefit in grains.
Mhm.
Fruit, small amounts in season is okay, but most of the time they're just bred for sugar content and size. And then it's just the vegetables where I'm left teeter-tottering, where I think that sometimes they have phytonutrients and other people think they have anti-nutrients. And so just depends on if you want some more flavor, I guess, but I don't think vegetables are necessary at all. Um,
Right.
but yeah, at that time when we had moved here, we were just focusing on having the best quality things that we could find. And then now we have found other options.
Oh.
we found a local farmer who has kidney and who has
Oh.
heart and who has, so we've been having more kinds of foods, which makes it fun.
How do you feel adding these organs in? Do you feel like there's any difference for you?
Not really. I don't, maybe I have to isolate and just do a month of just organs and a month no organs, but I just think they taste good. And I know that they have some nutrition, though I know that there's like the big debate right now about vitamin A toxicity, but
Yeah. What about spices? Can you handle your spices?
yeah, so that was the other thing too. We have cayenne pepper. Not that I always forget to add spices. I've never had salt and pepper in my life just because of convenience or laziness. I don't really know. But then Bryce liked salt and he liked other seasonings. So that's a question I get a lot, is about the seasonings. And if he puts it on, then I eat it. But if not, I can handle anything. I can put a whole thing of cayenne pepper and I'll be fine, and he'll put a tiny amount and he'll be hurting in the bathroom. So he's like, I have such a stomach, because I can really at least as of right now, because I'm young still, that I can tolerate a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, that's good though. It's good. I mean, I don't know whether it's totally age dependent, but I think you do have more forgiving systems, like if you haven't damaged yourself too much by your 20s. So what do your friends and family say about you doing this YouTube channel and this kind of funny way of eating? What do they have to say?
My family's pretty supportive. So when we went for Thanksgiving, they're like, we'll make sure to get the grass-fed beef, and we'll make sure to, and we're like, sweet, like we were just asking for beef. You're going another level for us, thanks. And then my sister, when we went and visited her, she was like, we're making sure to get the pasture-raised eggs. Can you please send a picture which ones? We'll make sure to get it. So they're super supportive about it. I wish that it wasn't just support, and that maybe they would like listen a little more. Not that I have all the answers, but just to see if maybe they tried it, how it would make them feel. Because it's tough. I don't know if you feel the same way, but watching your friends and family and coworkers suffer or have something going on where you feel like you might be able to help a little bit, but they just really don't want to listen. And they want to hear it from a stranger too. Like they would rather hear everything from a stranger, which is really nice when I get to bring on doctors who are saying the same thing I'm saying.
Yeah. Do they watch your channel? Do you think they watch like the interviews with the professionals? No,
I don't think so. If they do listen, they don't hear.
Okay. So, but they know this is what you're doing. I mean, that you have this channel and that, so they're supportive of you and they support you in what you're eating, but they're not open to trying.
And then my friends think I'm crazy. I think my friend the other day, she was like, so why are you doing this? I was like, I feel really good and my brain works better and my mood is better. And she's like, so how long do you think you're going to do it for? I'm like, pretty much until I find out that it's unhealthy, but this is probably the healthiest thing that somebody can eat. So when are you gonna stop eating chips? It's just
right.
The questions people ask, it's like, it's kind of hard, when they say, well, how long are you going to eat this way? How would they feel if I said, well, how long are you going to eat that way?
Yeah, exactly. And they're eating like processed foods and things like that, So what about your fitness? I mean, I see these videos where you're obviously strong. You got like a 6-pack going on. How does the way I mean, it sounds like you were pretty much eating like carbs and protein when you were doing track, and then you got puffy for a bit. and now like how much do you think of your fitness is diet versus your exercise that you're doing?
I know that my diet keeps me the way I look, and then the fitness is mostly because I have so much energy. I just need to release it. And then also I like to lift just because for longevity purposes. So they say lifting heavy things increases your longevity. And that was another question my friend had for me the other day. She asked me, why
Sorry, I saw this one the other day. I'm like, that is such a cool picture. Oh, keep going. I want to just show some of your fitness while you. So what did your friend say, sir?
what was she saying? I forget already.
Here, you think, and I'm gonna go back to your Instagram because I want to show some of your sorry, I didn't mean to make you lose your train of thought.
You're good. I totally forgot what I was saying.
Now this one, I remember this video and I was like, I think I want to do beef, eggs, and butter when I saw your. So you're saying your physique is attributable primarily to your diet.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
I feel like my strength has actually gone down since eating carnivore.
Oh,
I think that carbs do help in terms of if somebody wants to gain weight, gain muscle.
oh,
Then
interesting.
carbs would help bring the puffiness of the arms, if that's
Oh, like, so if you're meaning like you're trying to just bulk, is that what you mean? Or like the actual strength
so
is,
I feel like my the energy level with carbs in the gym makes you have a little bit more oomph, and then you crash afterwards. And then with carbs too, you're going to puff up a little bit more, so then your muscles will look bigger, but it depends on how you're holding the weight. So
okay.
I do feel like I look like maybe a little just like skinny stick-like versus as strong as I was before. But I know that I'm still strong and just as strong. It just doesn't look as strong.
Right. Because it's more of like a leaner, sinewy type of look versus like the, bulkier.
Yeah.
Now, what about, I mean, do you feel like, I mean, it's probably, if you haven't done any tests, but what do you think about bone density? Do you think that has, I mean, I don't know. Have you ever done a DEXA scan or considered doing that? Or are you just kind of like,
I would like to do a DEXA scan, all of the different tests and all the results everybody wants to hear, but I haven't done it.
yeah. I mean, you're probably young enough where you don't even have to really go to the doctor, but does your doctor know what you're eating?
My doctor's Bryce's dad.
Oh, okay. All right. Because he's a chiropractor, right? Okay, great. Now, what does he think about what you guys are doing?
So Bryce is funny because now that he looks back on his childhood, he realizes that some of the things his dad was doing, even though he wasn't saying and explaining it as a kid to him, he realizes that his dad kind of knows what's up, even though he never would say he's keto or carnivore, but he will prioritize eating certain foods over others. And Bryce never even realized why. So for instance, he was just saying, he's like, you know what? I just realized every time we went out to restaurants with my dad, he would take the bread that they give at the table when they serve bread and butter, and he would take all of the inside out of the bread and just have the thin crust and put tons of butter on it. And he goes, this whole time, now I'm starting to realize he knew that having too much bread and too much carbs was
wow.
And then he would roll the bread up into a ball and show Bryce as a kid and say, you see this bread ball? This is what's going to happen to your arteries if you eat this.
Wow. So he knew.
He knew back, this is 25 years ago.
Wow. That's fascinating. That, I mean, even just sort of like, yeah, I mean, it's easier now to look at things and go, oh, like instinctively, intuitively, that probably is not good for you, right? Like you knew soda, you could kind of like fast food, you had these things along the way where you're like, that's probably not good for me,
Yeah.
And
We just went to the Science Center here in St. Louis recently, and they are promoting lots of wheat, lots of corn, lots of soy, and that's just because Bayer was the one to sponsor the whole thing, but it shows the wheat, which is just this dry, barley looking thing, wheat. And to think that you're walking down the streets and you see that and you say, I want to eat that. No, you would not want to eat this dried up looking weed.
Well, yeah, and they say those were just things to keep humans alive, like sustenance. That's not like, if you were out and you had one survival food, I think you're going to eat a slab of meat. You're not going to go and opt for like some gross like potato or like some funny looking grain that you have to like mega process to make it even edible, So if you're okay with us talking a bit about just so I just watched your story. You shared your video about your story of your life, and I have to say, I was shocked because I didn't know that aspect of your life, and I just thought, when I met you, I'm like, oh, she's just like the happiest, youngest, most vibrant looking carnivore that I know. And I had no idea that you had had such a traumatic childhood. And so, can you just say a little bit about your, I don't know, I guess I was just so struck by your who you are, that you've been through so much and that you had this brightness like prior to carnivore. I mean, it almost makes carnivore seem like insignificant. But can you just say a little bit about your, how, I don't even know what question I'm
Sure.
asking.
Yeah,
So,
I guess growing up, I didn't even realize that where I was growing up was not normal for everybody else. I guess I just didn't, I knew that other people had like happy living family, or maybe even if their parents were divorced, that it was kind of civil or manageable. But I grew up, my mom and dad got divorced when I was really young. I don't even know how old I was when they divorced. And then my dad um, kind of just stopped coming around. My mom made it pretty hard for him to see us, and kind of scared my sister and I, and made him kind of come off as like the evil character. So when we did see him, we'd kind of run away or tell the teachers to call the cops on him. So I never really reached out to him now that I'm older, just because it's been so long, and he's a thing of the past. So I don't know any of his family. I don't really know anything about him. And then with my mom, she met a man named John when I was really young, and John has been the light in my life. And they dated on and off for 6 years. And he said that he stuck around dating her for so long because of the fact that he knew that if he wasn't with her, then we would have really nobody. And my mom was addicted to drugs and alcohol, and even while she was dating John, would still have other male figures in the house coming in and out. So it's kind of one of those situations where she just didn't love herself. And so we had once my mom and John officially did to break up, we would visit John on the weekends, and we would stay with my mom during the week. And she would always have different male figures in the house, and the police were over a lot. And I have so many different stories of just things people don't really want to go down, like to know. But the whole time I just had hope. And I think just having John in my life really helped with like having somebody there for me. And so when I was 13, my mom evicted my sister and I. And then when I moved back in with my mom temporarily when she got AA, then she kicked my sister and I out again, and basically said she never wanted to see us. And I became an emancipated minor, so I went to juvenile court to become emancipated. And it kind of, that was the day like I felt really free. I just felt like everything that I had to worry about or stress about or think about the police coming, like that time right before I became emancipated, my mom came to my school. And at this point I had not lived with her for about 6 months, and she came to my school drunk and was telling the school that I was kidnapped and that they needed to give her access into my grades. It was just like a really weird situation. And then she was arrested in front of my school. So then officially, once I became emancipated, I just knew that all of the drama and everything that I had to always have attached and always worry about was finally done.
wow.
And so it was the best year of my life when I became emancipated. And after that, it was every day is a blessing.
Wow. Thank you for sharing it again. I just was so, I mean, it's like unbelievable to me that, and that's the part I wanted to make sure people know is, they see your channel and they think she's just like a smiley, happy girl, and that she hasn't had, I mean, because you're so young, people think, and I think that really just struck me that it's like, you just don't know, right? You see these things and you think, oh, carnivore, it's just this whatever, this fad, a gimmick, and everyone's kind of jumping on the bandwagon to share it. And it's like, no, you've been, and if anyone hasn't watched it, I definitely recommend we'll post it, to make sure they watch your story, because it's like your accomplishments and everything you've done prior to this carnivore channel, like in the face of your just so insurmountable life circumstances, is so inspirational. So I think it really struck me deeply, because I thought I just seeing your channel, I just judged you. I thought, oh, she's pretty, she's bubbly, everyone's gonna love her because she's doing carnivore and she's just a young, bright girl, and I just the fact that it's like you've gone through such hardship and that and all of the contributions you've made to people prior to this and all of your own success and just your hopeful outlook that you didn't like you've kind of stumbled into this like from crafts to carnivore and it's like well now you're helping all these people and it's like I just think it gives so much you know not to say that your message isn't legitimate and that you don't that carnivore is not truthfully an important thing to contribute but your depth of character and what you've gone through in your life it to me it gives so much more weight to what you that you don't just take things lightly and you're not just doing this to create a channel and be like a social influencer it's like you have a depth of spirit and character that you want to I can feel that you just really want to help people to not suffer and that you've known a lot of suffering so I just want to acknowledge you that I was so moved. I mean, I can't even believe it because I asked you to send me some before and after photos. And I was just thinking, okay, well, she's young. She probably, maybe lost a little bit of weight, like toned up a bit. And then you shared your video of your history. And so I just really want to acknowledge that. And I think that the combination of your experimental nature and just that you're always driven and you're going to keep striving to contribute more in addition to having your mindset and being very mission driven like you said Brendan Burchard I can never say his name I just see like so much potential for you and I'm really excited for your future and how so who's your audience who are your what are the demographics of the people who are following your channel?
Well, according to YouTube, it's mostly 55 to 65-year-old women, which is fine.
Oh.
I initially thought I was going to be talking to people my age, and then with my crafts, I was getting told I was talking to 6 and 8-year-olds, and a lot of people's kids were watching my channel, and I was like, okay, if my initial like mission was to do that, it'd be one thing. But when I think I'm talking to people my age and I'm told I'm talking to little kids, I'm like, okay, maybe I should change it up a little bit. And then yeah, now I think, I mean, I've gotten so much feedback from people on my videos. And like you said, like if people don't listen, if people don't hear my story, then a lot of people think I'm crazy. They think, oh, she's smiling so much, her eyes are so open all the time. And why is she so happy? So, it's okay, people can be happy, like that's okay, people. But now I'm trying to tone it down and be less energetic and be less like all over the place.
Oh.
But yeah, that's my age demographic right now. But I think more and more people will jump on the bandwagon. I think once they start, or more people my age in like 30 years, they'll be listening.
Yeah, I think it's such a shame that people aren't, until they really have health problems that they
Yeah.
usually don't tune in. But I do think that your story is so powerful for any age, in terms of your tenacity and your your resilience and it's like I think wow, you had all of that optimism and hope even before carnivore, even like when you were still eating. I mean, you were still eating, obviously you weren't eating the worst. It sounds like you never ate the worst junk food, but you still were not like fueling yourself in a way that you would expect that you would be able to be that, determined and that stay that positive. So do you think that's just your character kind of who you were born as?
I think so. I mean, my sister and I are 16 months apart, so we're pretty close in age, and we are complete opposites. Like everything that you could, we are very much opposites. And but we still have the same goal of being happy, good people. And so I think it must come from maybe just like growing up too, and just knowing, people can be mean, but you can choose to how you're going to respond to it. So, I mean, I receive a lot of comments too from people on my channel, and it's like, I know my intentions and I know who I am. So delete your comment.
So you're okay with the haters because you've been through so much worse, right?
Yeah,
So your
no.
sister's also positive like you, like she has a positive outlook and
Yeah, I mean, we're just very different, but yeah, her intentions are always to be just really good. She's a really good person. So her intentions are there.
wow. Wow. So I want to go back to because you said that you're trying to tone down your your vibrance, right? And do you know BNS? Do you know who BNS is? The carnivore superstar. He's in India and
Oh,
he
I've heard of
has
him.
like 230,000 subscribers and he's leading this huge carnivore movement in India. And we just interviewed him and then after he stayed on with me and he told me, he said, don't ever, never. He's like an Indian male version of you. He's like incredibly happy, incredibly positive, and just like he'll come on to Meet Our Ex and he just lights up the room, and it's like you have that same just bright, like you
You
can't,
are
like,
too
you're like
much. Stop it this whole
no, but I
time.
mean, you're like a, like those stars that are just like, I don't know if it's like a supernova or whatever, but that's how he is. And I mean, I have that. I mean, I relate a lot. I mean, my childhood wasn't nearly as difficult or traumatic. It was challenging. And I related to your story that I just like poured myself into school. It was like I loved school. I loved strangers, right? Because that's where you feel safe. And I always I was very like I think I have a natural exuberance and so does BNS and so do you. You two are like, 2 to 3 times my natural, but nonetheless I have that kind of like where people think that you're like fake or over the top or like why are you so happy? But I similarly relate to it's by contrast. I know what suffering is like. I know what it's like to be in a very very challenging family situation where people are mentally ill and unstable and then also suffering myself from that. And so he just reminded me that don't ever never match other people. Never downgrade your energy or your enthusiasm or your light for others. He reminded me, he's like, it doesn't matter. He's like, he knows that he can pull people up. That's his gift. So that was his advice to me. And I would definitely say the same to you. It's like, who cares what people think? I mean, yeah, like I said, superficially, I judged you and thought, oh, she's just like a bubbly, happy person. I didn't know what your background was, right? But who cares, right? I still thought, wow, she's so fabulous. She's so happy. She's really representing this lifestyle very nicely. Um, but I think you can do so much. I mean, like Brendan, however you say his name, Bouchard, he's like the happiest, like he's like bouncing off the walls, right? And it's
Yeah.
like you're every bit as bright and bouncy as he is. So I would just say don't dampen at all. Don't
Yeah.
dampen. Don't like modify. It's like people who are hungry for your light, they will follow you. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what like YouTube social media strategy tells you, but I would just say that's your gift. It's your
Thank
gift.
you.
And it was there all along and it's just there even more and it's more pronounced and you're properly fueled and you know what I mean? So it's like just freaking turn up the volume.
Well, and like when Bryce and I are taking walks around the neighborhood or we're at the grocery store or whatever, we look up at everybody and we smile. And sometimes we'll say hello, but most of the time they look down, they don't look up. If they look up, they don't smile back, they don't say hello back. So I don't know what's going on with society and why
Oh
everyone,
yeah.
you think I'm gonna put a video out where I'm talking like this the whole time, like sad? No, I'm gonna be smiling when I make the video. Like, so I will definitely always stay true to who I am, but there was definitely a time maybe like a month ago where it was just like flicks to the back of the head, comment after comment after comment, like not even a positive one in the mix. It was just negative, negative. It was like, wow, like maybe my personality is horrible, and then had to like reset. And then it was like, as soon as I start putting out positive comes back. But as soon as you
Yeah.
start second guessing or thinking negative, it's like when you have one bad day, it's like it all kind of like three bad things happen in a row. So
Exactly. And I see those moments as like, the universe is testing you,
mhm.
right? So that you keep, like, once you go through that, it's like, then you keep getting pressed to be more and more of your true self. So it's like those tests where you're like, oh, are you going to change who you are and how you show up because you're getting some hate, And then, like you say, like things will come in those little cascades of negativity. And yet, no, you don't, you're not going to change because of that. Right. So I
Right.
think that's fascinating. But anyway, I'm just kind of like really reflective after, hearing your story. And I think I have so much respect for you. And I think I also noticed my own judgment, and I've shared with you on the generational conversation, but I feel like this sort of like, generational, whatever, maybe every generation feels this way, but there's this generational like stereotype, right? That you're like, oh, these young people who grew up with social media, like all they cared all they care about is like followers and likes and all this kind of stuff, right? And I had this judgment that, oh, you'll change what you're, I mean, besides changing from crafts to carnivore, but meaning like you would change who you were for the outside world. But I
Mhm.
think what I've learned from you, and I'm learning from Bella as well and JC, it's like, no, I see this strength of character in you all. And that I mean, because you're really doing something that's a little bit fringe, you're doing something a little bit quirky, and that you're staying true to it because you have this mission, you have this purpose behind it. And so I'm just very impressed and inspired. And so what is next for you?
I don't want to give it away. No, but
Oh.
um, and this is something that Bella and I talked about too when I interviewed her, and off the camera we talked about kind of similar to what you're saying too, that you can just like tell what people's intentions are. And so it's getting to the point where it's too tough to, like, I can't respond to everyone's comments and I can't respond to everyone's questions, and I can't help but feel guilty about it. Like I would like rather stay up for and not sleep just to make sure I respond to every single person, because I feel like they took the time to say something to me. Like I should have the time to say something back, but I can't not respond to thousands. It's impossible. Um, so the thing that I feel like I'm kind of handcuffed with is how much I can help people. Like I want to produce just as much content as I can to get more information out there to help in whatever way that I can.
Mhm.
But I receive a lot of questions where I can't respond in just a sentence, and it needs more like one-on-one coaching or just like a group conversation to really help, because you know some people are going to need other foods than others or different quantities. So I would like to start doing coaching, one-on-one coaching, but it's like a pull on me because I really like producing the content and making the videos for everybody. And then but I know that working one-on-one with someone can really help someone specifically. So
Mhm.
I would like to start coaching um, eventually here.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I think, I know Bella's up against the same thing, trying to like balance like content that can reach a lot of people, but also providing that more individual or small group support. And I trust that you can figure it out. That you will make it happen, that you will make it work and find that nice balance. I feel like there's ways. I mean, I know BNS does things like if he gets certain frequent questions, or he'll do lives, right? Where he'll just invite a bunch of people and then he'll answer live questions, but he'll have 50,000 people watching. So it's like you're still providing kind of more individualized, but a lot of people can hear it. So
Yeah.
maybe it's not as labor intensive as having to create a video and edit it, you know what I mean? So I'm sure you guys can find, creative solutions to be able to kind of bridge those. So
Yeah.
that's so great. Well, Lillie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know we kind of went all over the place, but I think, like I said, I think we just couldn't not talk about just who you are, as a person. And like I said, I sent Aaron, you met Aaron. I said right away, I forwarded him your video and I said, you need to watch this right now.
Oh,
Lily's not just a, a happy-go-lucky 24-year-old, she is happy-go-lucky, but she has a lot behind that. So I really appreciate your sharing and the importance of sharing a story like yours to give people hope. So I
thank
look
you so
forward
much.
to getting to know you a lot better in the future.
I look forward to getting you a lot, look forward to getting to know you too. And I thank you so much for letting me come on and talk about this too, because I know my videos are more short and condensed and I try to give as much information in a short amount of time. I feel like people don't have as long of an attention span, but then again, I have to remember my audience probably does. It's just
Yeah.
my people don't.
Right.
So when I get to talk like this and just really show me, then I think that, thank you.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Everything that you've shared is going to be so helpful. And I think I'm always impressed by how much you can condense into a very short video.
Takes a
All
lot of
right.
time.
It's a skill. So, okay, Lily, well, you take good care and we'll talk to you soon. Oh, we're going to do more conversations. So I'm sure have more panels and fun things. So, all right,
Awesome.
Lily, have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks, Lily. Talk to you soon.